You've felt it. A headline slides across your screen and something in your chest tightens. It's outrageous. It's infuriating. And before you've even finished reading it, you've already forwarded it to the group chat. Can you believe this? That reaction, that little jolt of anger feels like yours, but it isn't. It's a product. And one company figured out how to manufacture it at industrial scale better than almost anyone else. For a stretch of years, a single conservative website drew more likes, shares, and comments on Facebook than the New York Times, CNN, the Washington Post, and NBC News combined. Not one of them, all of them added together. It did this with almost no reporters, no printing presses, and no foreign bureaus. It turned that attention into more than 1 million paying subscribers and over $100 million in revenue. And here's the part that should make you take notice. It built that audience without spending any real money on advertising. Most media companies buy their reach. The Daily Wire got you to hand it over for free by making you angry. And then, in 2025, the machine turned on its own creators. 85% of the audience gone in barely a year. Waves of layoffs. A quiet, desperate scramble to sell the whole thing off before the numbers got worse. To understand the collapse, you have to understand the machine. And to understand the machine, we have to start with a question that sounds almost too simple. What is a media company? Because we use that phrase like we all agree on what it means. Strip it down, and a real media company is 3 things at once. It makes money, typically from advertising or subscriptions. It produces original journalism, reporters who go out and find things the rest of us don't know yet. And its editorial decisions are, at least in theory, independent from the people who fund it. Revenue, reporting, independence. That's the line between a newsroom and a propaganda operation. Hold that in your head, because the Daily Wire does not cleanly satisfy any of these. So if it isn't a media company, what is it? The story begins in 2015 with 2 men. Ben Shapiro, a young commentator with a gift for fast, combative argument, and Jeremy Boring, a producer with an instinct for how content actually spreads online. The 2 had worked together at a small outfit called Truth Revolt, and they wanted to build a conservative answer to a mainstream media they believed was rigged against them. But ambition isn't capital, and theirs came from a very specific place. Roughly $4.5 million in seed money from Ferris and Dan Wilkes, 2 brothers who had made a fortune fracking in Texas. Sit with that for a second, because it quietly dismantles their origin story. The Daily Wire has always sold itself as scrappy and independent, a David against the Goliath of legacy media, but it was not bootstrapped out of a garage. From day one, it was a funded political project, launched with oil and gas money by billionaires with a direct stake in the political fights the company would spend the next decade shaping. And it worked fast. Within 14 months, the operation was profitable, not because it had cracked journalism, because it had cracked something else entirely. This machine, meant to manufacture anger, is called the Outrage funnel. It runs in one direction and every stage feeds the next. It starts with content built not to inform you, but to make you feel something. Almost always anger. Real reporting is expensive. Anger is cheap. The Daily Wire does very little original reporting. Mostly it takes a story some other newsroom already paid to produce and repackages it under a headline engineered for fury, the kind that tells you in all caps exactly who to be furious at today. That anger becomes engagement. You share it. You fight in the comments. You send it to the group chat. The engagement is free advertising, delivered by you. It hands the company an enormous audience at almost no cost, which is how you build the biggest reach in American media with almost no ad buys. A slice of the audience converts into paying subscribers. Those subscribers are then sold merchandise. The Daily Wire eventually launched its own brand of razors, sold to men who are angry about politics. That revenue funded a film studio, the next stage of the machine's political influence. And that influence generates the next wave of outrage content. Anger, to engagement, to audience, to subscribers, to razors, to studios, to power, and back to anger. That is the funnel. But every machine has a stress point, hidden inside the very design that made it unstoppable. And when it finally gave way fast. And the first thing the evidence tells you is that this was never about one man's personality. It's tempting to make this a fight about whether Ben Shapiro is insufferable or brilliant, because that's the argument that the internet wants to have. But the personality is the distraction. The business is the story. National Public Radio ran an entire investigative piece into how it works, and the title said it all. Outrage as a business model. Not as an insult, as an accurate description of the internal business mechanism at the Daily Wire. The algorithm rewards the most intense feeling, and anger is the cheapest intense feeling to manufacture at scale. The Daily Wire didn't invent that incentive, it industrialized it. And it didn't wait for the outrage to spread on its own. In 2019, a reporter uncovered a network of 14 large Facebook groups, all of them pushing Daily Wire content, all of them driving enormous engagement, and not one of them disclosed their connection. Some were dressed up to look like independent news outlets, neutral names, no branding, nothing to tell you that the thing making you angry was being coordinated from a single source. This is the part people miss. The funnel didn't just catch attention that was already out there. It manufactured the appearance of a grassroots movement, hid its own fingerprints, and made the anger look like it was coming from everywhere all at once. And because it worked, because it printed money, it stopped being a secret and became a template. Every ambitious political outlet on the internet looked at these numbers and started building a funnel of its own. And that ubiquity was the beginning of the end. Because a funnel that runs on outrage has one fatal flaw. There is always someone willing to be more outrageous than you. For years, the Daily Wire was the sharpest, angriest, most shareable voice in conservative media. It had no real rival for the fury it manufactured. And that was precisely the danger. An audience trained to chase the most intense feeling available can always be trained to chase it somewhere else. And that is exactly what happened. Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens went further, hit harder, broke bigger taboos, and the audience simply followed the stronger signal. The numbers are brutal. Ben Shapiro's YouTube viewership fell by roughly 85% from its peak, from around 170 million monthly views down to 20 million. Website traffic cut in half. Layoffs that eventually took more than half the staff. And the same company that had been pouring money into passion projects, reportedly over $10 million on a single fantasy series, was suddenly hunting for a $100 million rescue just to stay alive. The machine was built to reward the most divisive voice in the room. It never promised that voice would always be theirs. A rage funnel has no loyalty, not to the truth, not to a party, not even to its own creators. It only rewards the next angrier thing. It would be easy to be satisfied with what has happened to the Daily Wire. The rage merchants got outraged, and the machine ate its maker. But that ending lets you off the hook, as if this were one company's private downfall and not something all of us are now living inside. The Daily Wire is not the disease. It is the clearest case study we have of it, because the funnel didn't disappear when the numbers fell. It spread. The thing it proved, that dividing people is the single most profitable thing you can do online, is now the operating logic of an enormous share of the media you consume every day on every side of every issue. But here's the part that is genuinely in your hands, and the reason the case study is worth your time. A machine like this only works on you as long as you can't see it running. The moment a headline lands and some part of you asks, wait, is this trying to inform me or just trying to make me angry enough to share it? The funnel stops working. You stop being a stage in someone else's revenue model. This isn't cynicism, it's political literacy. And in an economy that runs on your outrage, being hard to enrage might be the most radical thing you can do.